obsession. Funny little word, isn't it? They throw it around like it's a bad habit, like it's something only the lonely or the broken carry around in their back pocket. But here's the twist. Everyone's obsessed with something, with someone, with attention, with control, with not being invisible. And you're not any different, are you? You check your reflection 3 times before leaving the house, scroll through your phone hoping someone sees you, laughs at your post, replies to your story. It's not validation, right? It's connection. That's what you tell yourself. But deep down, you want to be seen. Not just seen, you want to be wanted. Admiration, envy, 2 sides of the same coin, flipped by people who swear they're not watching you, but they are. Oh, they are. And the best part, half of them don't even know why. They look at you and feel something crawl up their spine, a spark, a twitch. Maybe it's jealousy, maybe it's fascination. They'll call it anything but what it is. Obsession. The quiet kind, the kind that simmers underneath polite smiles and fake indifference. You think they're not paying attention? You'd be amazed at how closely they study the people they swear they don't care about. See, obsession doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it hides behind compliments. Little, you're so lucky. Little, must be nice. That's not admiration. That's someone calculating, measuring, trying to figure out how close they can get to what you have without admitting they want it. Because to admit that would be surrender. It would mean saying, you have something I don't. And ego doesn't like that. But envy is a tricky little monster. It dresses itself up in praise. It claps when you win, but there's a twitch in the corner of the mouth, a tension in the eyes. Because deep down, they're not cheering for you. They're mourning for themselves. They see your shine and it dims their own reflection. So what do? They mimic, they copy. They watch you like a blueprint, then pretend they built it themselves. But they can't replicate what they don't understand. They can copy your style, your steps, your smile, but they can't copy your essence. That's what burns them. People will follow your every move just to find a crack, just to feel better about the ones they have. They'll say you're overrated while secretly hoping they could be you just for a day, just for a moment. They hate you and they love you, and they don't know which feeling makes them more uncomfortable. That's obsession. It's not romantic. It's not poetic. It's messy. It's ugly. It's people orbiting you like moons, pretending they're not caught in your gravity. And they'll talk. Oh, they'll talk. They'll pick you apart in rooms you'll never walk into, not because you did anything wrong, but because you did something they couldn't. Maybe you walked away. Maybe you stayed calm. Maybe you loved yourself out loud when they were still at war with their own reflection. Whatever it is, it set them off, made them itch. And now they carry you around in their heads like a ghost they can't shake. That's the kind of obsession that doesn't post about you, but thinks about you all the time. They call it harmless, just curiosity, just scrolling, just checking in. But that little voice in their head, it's louder than they let on. Why do they have that? Why do people like them? Why not me? And those questions dig deep. They rot from the inside, because when you become the measuring stick, people start cutting themselves just to match your height. And they'll blame you for it. Oh yeah, somehow it'll be your fault they felt small. Not their comparison, not their insecurity. You. But the funniest part? Some of them don't even realize they're obsessed. They think it's just coincidence, that they stumbled across you again by accident, that they brought you up in conversation without meaning to. They don't know they've been orbiting you for months, maybe years. Like a song they can't stop humming but swear they don't like. You're in their head. You live rent-free in a part of their mind they pretend doesn't exist. That's not admiration. That's not inspiration. That's obsession. With a mask on. They'll watch you grow, evolve, fall, rise, break, rebuild. And through all of it, they won't be able to look away, because you remind them of something they want, or something they fear, or someone they could have been if they weren't so damn afraid to try. You trigger them, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something real, and real is rare. Real is threatening. Real makes people feel things they don't want to feel. And when they feel too much, that's when obsession is born. Notice me. That's what everyone's really saying underneath the small talk, the selfies, the status updates. They'll never admit it out loud, of course, too messy, too needy, but deep down, that little whisper's always there. See me, hear me, feel something because of me. People crave attention like it's oxygen. Doesn't matter how strong they pretend to be, how cool they act, how indifferent they claim they are. Every single one of them wants to be noticed. Even the quiet ones. They say they like their space, that they're low-key, that they don't care who's watching. Lies. Careful, rehearsed lies. Everyone wants to feel like they matter. That when they walk into a room, something shifts, that their presence registers, that they're more than just background noise in someone else's movie. But in a world this loud, most people feel invisible. So what do? They perform. They shape themselves into something noticeable. They sharpen their edges. They soften their voice. They dress louder. They speak quieter. Whatever it takes to make someone stop and say, you. But it's not always desperation. Sometimes it's subtle. The way someone lingers in your orbit hoping for a glance. The way they drop just enough of themselves into a conversation so you'll pick it up. The way they leave traces of themselves everywhere, comments, reactions, little inside jokes they hope you'll catch. Obsession doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just sits there in the shadows, hoping you'll turn your head. Hoping you'll choose to notice them the way they already notice you. And the worst part? People crave that attention, even when it comes from the wrong places, even when it's hollow, even when it hurts, because feeling seen, even by someone toxic, is still better than feeling invisible. So they settle, they chase, they cling to breadcrumbs like it's a banquet, and they tell themselves it's love, it's chemistry, destiny, but really, it's just starvation. Emotional starvation. And when you're that hungry, even poison starts to taste like food. You think you're above it? That you're immune? No one is, even the ones who say, I don't care what people think. That's a costume. a lie they wear to hide how badly they want someone, anyone, to give a damn, to ask, how are you really, and not flinch at the answer. They post quotes about not needing anyone while checking their notifications every 5 minutes. That's the game. Pretend you don't care, while silently begging to be noticed. And when someone finally does notice you, really sees you, it changes everything. Even if they never say it out loud, their eyes betray them. Their silence screams. The way they look at you a second too long, the way they bring your name up in rooms where you're not present, the way they remember little details you don't even remember saying, that's obsession in its purest form. Not the loud kind, but the kind that watches, learns, memorizes. The irony? Sometimes the person you're so desperate to be seen by is the one secretly obsessed with you. But pride gets in the way, ego, fear. So instead of connection, you get distance. You both orbit the same truth, but neither of you wants to crash into it. Too dangerous, too real. And so you pretend, you talk around it, you throw little sparks into the air and hope one of them catches fire. In the end, everyone's just trying to be the main character in someone else's story. To be the reason someone checks their phone, smiles at a memory, feels something when they hear a certain song. That's all it is. You don't want followers. You don't want fans. You want someone to ache when you're not around. To notice when you're quiet, to feel like something's missing when you're gone. That's not vanity. That's human. The raw, aching truth most people dress up with filters and sarcasm. Even the ones who ghost you, who ignore your calls, who act like you're nothing, they notice. Oh, they notice. They just don't want you to know it. Because if you knew, you'd have power. And nobody likes admitting they're under someone else's spell. So they act cold, detached, indifferent. But their silence isn't apathy, it's control. It's obsession in disguise. Because once you've been noticed, truly noticed, you never leave their mind. You haunt it. Scroll, tap, double tap, swipe. That's the new heartbeat, isn't it? The rhythm of people searching for something they can't name, looking for proof they exist in the eyes of others. They say it's just for fun, just passing time. But behind every post, every perfectly framed selfie, every curated quote, they're all chasing the same drug: validation. Not love. Not connection, not even approval really, just that little hit of attention, that tiny flicker that says, you see me right? It's not addiction to the app. It's addiction to being seen. The funny part is, they'll lie about it. Say they don't care how many likes they get, then refresh their feed every 5 minutes. They'll say, I post for me, while choosing filters for 10 minutes straight, adjusting lighting to make life look prettier than it feels. They'll say, it doesn't matter, but you can see it in their eyes when the notifications don't come. That's silence. That's withdrawal. That's the sound of someone wondering if they're still relevant, still wanted, still enough. This isn't connection, it's currency. Emotional stock market. Your worth measured in hearts, comments, and followers. And the minute that number drops, panic. As if existence itself starts fading the moment you're not being watched. And that's the sick part. People aren't just sharing anymore. They're performing, selling versions of themselves, one post at a time. Not who they are, who they want to be seen as, and the audience, obsessed with your highlight reel, while their own life feels like static. You don't even need to say anything now to be obsessed with someone. Just watch them. Watch their stories, watch their likes, zoom in, re-watch, reread. You can know someone's routine better than their own family just by lurking. People study people now, quietly, secretly. They call it just checking in, just curious. But behind that curiosity is something darker. They compare, they fantasize, they judge, they try to find flaws so they can feel better about their own. That's not casual interest. That's obsession. That's obsession. That's emotional surveillance. And what's worse, you know they're watching. Even when they don't say anything, you can feel it. The ghost views, the silence that feels heavy, the people who never interact but somehow know everything. It's not your imagination. They're there, always watching, never engaging, because obsession today doesn't knock on your door. It scrolls in the dark and says nothing. And that silence, it's not harmless. It gets in your head, makes you question things. Should you post more? Should you be more like them? Are you too much? Not enough? Suddenly, your self-worth is on the auction block, and the bidders, strangers who don't even know the real you, just the version you crafted carefully, hoping someone would say, yes, that's worthy. But here's the twist. The same people you're trying to impress, they're doing the exact same thing. They're just as lost, just as hooked, just as desperate to feel something. So everyone's out here faking perfection while drowning in comparison. It's a cycle. You post something to get attention, someone sees it and feels like they're falling behind, so they post something better. Then you see theirs and feel like you're not enough, so you post again. Round and round. No one's winning, just clapping for each other's masks. It's not just about being liked, it's about not being forgotten, about leaving some kind of mark, even if it's just a digital echo. People don't want to disappear. That's the fear, that if they don't post, don't speak, don't show up in someone's feed, they'll vanish like they never mattered in the first place. So they keep posting, keep performing, keep feeding the algorithm with bits of their soul. And the obsession, it doesn't end when the phone goes dark. It lingers. People replay things in their heads, that one photo, that one caption, that one comment. They wonder what it meant, if it was meant for them. They build entire fantasies from a single emoji, a breadcrumb of attention, and suddenly they're spinning stories. That's how deep it runs. That's how hungry people are for something real, even if it's dressed up as fake. You ever notice how people act like mirrors? Not in some poetic, deep way. I mean real mirrors, reflecting back whatever's in front of them with zero originality. They don't know who they are. They only know who you are. And based on that, they adjust, they copy, they hate, they admire. You become the blueprint for everything they wish they could be but are too scared to try. And here's the kicker. They'll never tell you that. No, No, that would require honesty, vulnerability. And people hate those things more than they hate themselves. So instead, they watch, quietly, from the sidelines. They study your walk, your voice, your laugh, your confidence, or maybe just your chaos. Doesn't matter. Whatever part of you sparks something in them, they hold on to it. Sometimes they want to be it. Sometimes they want to destroy it because you remind them of something they've buried. Maybe it's potential. Maybe it's freedom. Maybe it's the life they were too afraid to live. So when they see you doing it, existing on your terms, they lose it. On the outside, maybe they clap. But inside, oh, they are boiling. They start to shape themselves around your image without even realizing it. Dress like you, talk like you, think like you, but only up to a point, because going too far would mean admitting you were first. And pride's a parasite. It feeds on denial. So they pretend they were always like this, that you're the copy, that you are the one chasing them. It's hilarious, really. Watching someone build a version of themselves, inspired by you, then turn around and act like you're the one in their shadow. And then there's the flip side, the ones who hate you on sight without even knowing why. That's not random, that's projection. They see something in you they've suppressed for so long it terrifies them. Maybe it's your strength, maybe it's your vulnerability, maybe it's the fact that you've stopped pretending, that you wear your scars like armor instead of shame. That kind of thing rattles people. They've been performing for so long they forgot what real looks like. And when you walk in unfiltered, unapologetic, unashamed, they can't handle it. So they mock, they minimize, they whisper, not because you're wrong, but because you're real. And real is dangerous in a world built on illusion. Real forces people to confront themselves. And nobody likes what they see in the mirror if they've been lying to it their whole life. So you become the enemy, not because you hurt them, but because you remind them they're not living. That's the kind of obsession that breeds quietly, ferments, festers, becomes resentment with a side of curiosity. And maybe, just maybe, there's someone who watches you and can't decide if they love you or hate you, if they want to be you or break you. That's the most honest kind of obsession, the kind that pulls them apart from the inside. One minute they're inspired, the next they're insulted by your existence. Like, how dare you be so free, so bold, so you, when they've spent years being what everyone else expected. Your truth is their threat. You don't even have to try. That's the worst part for them. You just show up, be yourself, and suddenly people spiral. That's the power you didn't ask for, but somehow still carry. The unintentional fire starter. You don't light the match. They're already soaked in gasoline. All you do is breathe near them, and boom, inferno. And through all of it, they'll never say it out loud, never give you the satisfaction of knowing you've altered them. But look closely. You'll see the traces in the way they echo your words, in the jokes they steal, in the changes they make to look more like something you'd notice. They become walking parodies of you without ever giving credit. That's not coincidence. That's obsession. The quiet kind, the dangerous kind, the kind that builds entire identities off someone else's shadow. People always say they want honesty, the truth, the real deal, but they don't, not really. What they want is a truth that flatters them. A version of reality that doesn't sting too much, that lets them keep their delusions neatly folded and untouched in the corners of their minds. Because the real truth, it's messy, ugly, uncomfortable. And you, yeah, you represent that truth. Not because you say it out loud, but because you live it. You breathe in authenticity and cough it back into a world full of liars, trying to convince themselves they're whole. And that drives them mad, because you're a walking contradiction to their performance. They see you existing in a way they gave up on years ago. You don't shrink. You don't apologize for the space you take. You don't shape-shift to keep everyone comfortable. So of course they're obsessed. You're doing what they can't. You're being what they're not. And that's unforgivable in their little world of masks and filters and carefully edited personalities. They start with mockery, sarcasm, passive aggression. They'll say you're too much, too loud, too intense, too emotional, too unpredictable. They love that word, too, because it makes them feel safer, makes them feel superior. It puts you in a box they can label and ignore. But really, that word's just a confession that your presence makes them feel small, because your authenticity exposes their lack of it. And here's the twist. Half of them don't even know they're obsessed. That's the beauty of it. They think they hate you, think you're annoying, think you're arrogant, but they watch you closely. They pick apart your words, analyze your silence, create entire stories about you in their heads. That's not hate. That's fixation dressed up as judgment. That's obsession with a mask on, smiling through clenched teeth. You ever notice how some people talk about you more than they talk to you? How your name keeps showing up in conversations you never signed up for? You've become a character in their story, a symbol, a trigger, and it's not about you, not really. You just happened to touch a nerve. You woke something up in them they buried a long time ago. Maybe ambition, maybe pain, maybe the version of themselves they killed just to fit in. You remind them of the life they were supposed to chase before fear got its claws in them, before comfort became their prison. So they watch you with this strange mix of wonder and disgust. They hate you because they want to be you, but wanting you means admitting something is missing in them, and that's a pill too bitter to swallow. So instead of looking inward, they project. Classic move. They'll say, you think you're better. You crave attention. You are fake. But that's just the echo of their own self-loathing. They build stories where you're the villain because it makes them feel like victims. And victims don't have to change. They just have to point fingers. Some of them try to mimic you, Oh, they'll never admit it, but you'll see it. The way they start dressing a little like you, talking a little like you, sharing quotes that sound suspiciously like something you said 3 weeks ago. They're trying to crack the code, trying to figure out how you pull it off. But what they don't get, what they'll never get, is that you're not following a formula. You're just being. And that kind of freedom, you can't fake it. And when imitation fails, they escalate. They'll try to cut you down, call you delusional, say you're full of yourself, anything to clip your wings, because watching you fly while they stay grounded, that's unbearable. They'll do anything to bring you down to their level, just to feel balanced again. But deep down, they know the truth. They know that no matter how much they bark, they're still behind the glass. Watch. They know you're not obsessed with them, and that kills them. They want to matter to you. Want to be a blip on your radar, because if you noticed them, it would validate their obsession. It would make their feelings less pathetic. But you don't. You move on. You live. And they stay stuck, spinning stories in the dark, waiting for a moment that never comes. Do you ever notice how quiet people get when they think they've got something on you? Like really quiet, the kind of silence that hums. They sit back, smirk tucked neatly behind their teeth, waiting for the moment you fall, slip, crack, so they can step forward and say, "See? Knew it all along." That's obsession too. Not the kind you read about in sappy poems or hear in songs. No, this one's darker, more patient, the kind that clings to your flaws like souvenirs. See, some people don't want to love you. They want to prove you wrong. They watch you, not to admire, but to catch you. Like you're some magic trick they're desperate to figure out. You walk in, glowing with whatever madness makes you, well, you. And suddenly their whole day's about you. Not that they'll admit it. That would mean you matter. That would mean you've got space in their head rent-free. So instead, they pretend to ignore you while memorizing every move. They call you lucky, call you fake, call you unstable. Anything to rewrite the story into one where they're not the ones on the outside looking in. But it's written all over them, isn't it? That quiet twitch when you speak, the tight smile when someone praises you, the questions they ask that aren't really questions, just traps disguised as curiosity. And you let them stew. Not because you want to be cruel, no. It's because you've seen this game too many times to be fooled by it. The same script, different faces. People who can't stand to see you shine without their permission, who mistake your survival for arrogance, who think being loud about your scars means you think you're special. Here's what they don't get. You didn't ask to be noticed. You just stopped hiding. There's a difference. And the moment you did, oh, they noticed all right. They felt it, like a glitch in their programming. Because someone like you isn't supposed to exist in their world. You don't follow the rules. Don't play nice, don't shrink. And so their obsession begins, not because of what you took from them, but because of what you reminded them they never had the guts to claim. Now they linger, always there, always almost saying something. They scroll through your life like it's a crime scene, trying to find the clue that proves You're not real, not strong, not stable. But what they'll never admit is this: they want to be you, want to feel what you feel, want to live out loud the way you do, but they're trapped in a version of themselves they can't escape. And every time they see you, it's like holding a mirror up to that prison. And so they obsess, quietly, bitterly. They become experts on you, not just the public you, but the cracks, the shadows. They collect your mistakes like treasure, highlight your flaws like a resume, because if they can prove you're broken too, then maybe they don't have to feel so bad about never trying. Maybe mediocrity is okay if someone like you still bleeds. It's not just about watching you fail, it's about needing you too. But you don't break the way they want. You bend, you twist, you laugh through it, and that drives them mad. Because they've built their obsession on the idea that you'll eventually fall flat, that the version of you that threatens their comfort will disappear. But instead, you get louder, sharper, realer, and that obsession, it turns to resentment, and resentment festers. They'll call it dislike, say it's just not vibing with your energy, but they know the truth. They know their dislike is just disappointment that you didn't give them the show they wanted, that you didn't collapse, that their silent watch turned into a slow realization they're not the audience. They're the ghost in the back of the theater watching a performance they could never pull off. And still, they keep watching. Every post, every word, every smile that doesn't need their approval. And they'll keep watching, not because they love you, not because they want to destroy you, but because deep down, they've made you part of their story. You're the fire they can't put out, the riddle they can't solve, the proof that something wilder, braver, louder is possible. And that's what really eats them alive. You walk into a room and you don't even realize it, but people shift. A little glance here, a longer stare there. They remember things about you you've long forgotten. The way you laughed that one time, the weird outfit you wore, that one sentence you dropped like it meant nothing, but to them, it echoed. You think you're just going about your life unnoticed, but you're not. You're a ripple in everyone's still water. You leave marks without meaning to. That's the catch. Most of the time, you won't even know who you've reached, who you've rattled, or who's secretly trying to become or undo you. It's funny, isn't it? People act like they don't care. They shrug, scroll past, act distracted, but they notice. Oh, they notice. They store your words in the back of their heads, play your tone on repeat, twist it, rework it, build entire conversations around it that never happened. And it's not because you're loud, not because you're trying. It's because there's something in you, something raw or real or wrong, that breaks the rhythm of their carefully planned lives. You don't fit. And that alone makes you unforgettable. Some of them admire you quietly. They'll never clap for you in public, never say your name out loud with pride, but behind closed doors, they're curious. They stalk your steps, they analyze your choices. They measure themselves against the idea of you, wondering what it's like to live with that kind of electricity under the skin. They envy your wounds, your resilience, your refusal to go numb, not because they love pain, but because they can't stand how small their world feels compared to yours. Others hate you for the same reasons. You unsettle them. You're a glitch, a walking contradiction. A person who shouldn't work on paper but still stands, still speaks, still breathes fire while they can barely light a match. They don't just dislike you, they study you with the kind of energy they don't even give to their own dreams. You're the standard now, the blueprint or the enemy. They hate that. Hate how you're part of their mind, even when they try to erase you. Hate that you became a character in their internal monologue. And then, of course, there's the obsession born from confusion. The ones who don't know whether they want to be you, save you, or destroy you. They watch you the way someone watches a fire from across the street. Fascinated, terrified, mesmerized. There's a rhythm in you that doesn't match theirs, and it makes them itch. You walk through life with the kind of reckless honesty they've trained themselves to suppress. So they watch, they mimic, they reject, they come back, and they'll never say it. But everything you do affects them. You're not invisible, not to the people who need to see someone like you to remember they're still alive, not to the ones who resent you because you dared to show them what they buried. You're not a footnote in their story. You're a chapter. And chapters don't disappear just because someone's ashamed they were written. You don't have to post more, shout louder, be bolder to have an impact. Sometimes, just your quiet presence, your way of being, is enough to trigger someone's entire spiral. They see you laugh and wonder why they can't. See you fall and rise again and question why they never even jumped. And they'll call it coincidence, luck, drama. But the truth is, you were the spark. Not even trying. Just being. And that haunts them. The impact isn't always applause. Sometimes it's silence. Sometimes it's imitation. Sometimes it's avoidance. But make no mistake, it's impact. You live in people's minds more often than you think. You're the late night thought, the sudden burst of doubt, the unexpected smile in the middle of a boring day. You're the proof that someone like you can exist. Loud, soft, broken, bold, whatever form you take, you're real. And real doesn't go unnoticed. Real leaves residue. Real lingers long after the room is empty. It may as well, as long after your dead body. And while you go about your life thinking you're just surviving or trying to make sense of your own chaos, others are orbiting around you, affected by the gravity you didn't even mean to create. You don't need to be extraordinary for that to happen. You just need to be. And some people will love you for it, some will curse your name, but none of them, not one, will forget you. Because forgetting you would mean forgetting the way they felt when you disrupted their pattern. And feelings like that, they don't go away. They echo. Some people try so hard to be unforgettable. Loud clothes, louder opinions. They break their backs trying to impress people who wouldn't even blink if they disappeared tomorrow. Funny thing is, the ones who really leave marks, they never try. They exist. They bleed openly, laugh too hard, cry when they shouldn't, stumble through rooms with no script. And that rawness, that unfiltered chaos, it stays, it stains people. Because being unforgettable isn't about being liked, it's about being felt. You don't get to choose what parts of you stick with people. Maybe it's the way your voice cracked when you spoke the truth no one else had the guts to say. Maybe it's the way you stood up when everyone else was playing dead. Or maybe it's how you didn't flinch when the whole room turned on you. That's the kind of thing people remember. Not because it was perfect, but because it was real. And real is rare. Real is risky. Real makes people uncomfortable. That's why it's unforgettable. That's why, but don't get it twisted. Being unforgettable doesn't always come with flowers and applause. Sometimes it comes with side eyes and whispered rumors. Sometimes it comes with people trying to erase you, rewrite you, pretend you were never there. Because if they admit they remember you, they have to admit why they remember you. And not everyone's ready to look at what you stirred up inside them. Some people would rather bury the earthquake than admit the ground ever shook. You ever walk past someone and feel them freeze, like your presence alone disrupts their peace? That's not an accident. You bring a frequency they can't ignore. You vibrate louder. Even when you're quiet, you hum with something they don't know how to name. It's not charisma, it's not charm, it's truth. And truth doesn't blend in. It cuts, it echoes, and it reminds people of the lies they tell themselves every morning in the mirror. You've become unforgettable not because you wanted to be, but because you didn't flinch, because you didn't conform, because you didn't play the role they wrote for you. And when you walk away, they still feel you. In the questions they suddenly can't answer, in the silence that follows a joke that used to land before you showed up and changed the mood, in the way they hesitate before posting, speaking, choosing. Because now there's you in the back of their mind haunting them with your refusal to pretend. Some will idolize you, copy your walk, your voice, your rage, your rhythm. Others will resent you for the same damn reasons. But both are proof that you matter, that your existence landed, that you're not just scenery in someone else's story. You're the plot twist, the line they underline in the book, the scar they trace when no one's looking. They won't always admit it, but you affected them. You changed the temperature in the room, and that kind of impact doesn't fade with time. It burns in. You're unforgettable because you were willing to be messy, to be loud when it was easier to whisper, to feel when it was safer to numb. You were chaos in a world that worships order. You were color in a grayscale system. And people don't forget color, not really. Even when they squint and try to tone it down, it lingers. Somewhere in their memory, you're still bright. And no matter how much they pretend you didn't shake them, no matter how many times they scroll past your face without reacting, you're in there, in the silence, in the pause before they speak, in the moment they second-guess the version of themselves they built so carefully. That doubt, that little crack, that's you. That's the cost of brushing up against something real. They'll say you're dramatic, say you're a lot, say you're complicated, but all of that just means they felt you. And once someone feels you, really feels you, there's no going back. You're in the wiring now, twisted up in their circuits, changing the way they operate. Maybe they'll never say your name again. Maybe they'll delete the photos, unfollow, block. Doesn't matter. They're still carrying you. In the choices they make, in the boundaries they suddenly set, in the dreams they dusted off after watching you refuse to quit. You didn't ask to be unforgettable. You just refused to be invisible. You showed up. Loud, flawed, alive. And that's what people remember. That's what echoes. Because in a world addicted to pretending, you were the one thing they couldn't fake their way past.